Aloha everybody, welcome back to Kylopathic Astrology, and happy full moon in Scorpio. Yes, so enthusiastically, one Scorpio full moon we get per year when shit just gets batshit crazy. Yes, we are at that time of year, so congratulations for making it out alive everybody. No, but seriously, so happy to be with you guys and to get to talk about this. The Scorpio full moon every year is always a really intense one. Intense and Scorpio always go hand in hand. We all know this. And I just want to talk about some of the technical stuff with this full moon in particular and how it's affecting me personally, and see if that resonates with any of you. So please leave in the comments how this is impacting you and if it relates. I first want to really touch on, as is obvious with any full moon, is that the moon in full is going to be opposite the sun. So we're full mooning in Scorpio, that's opposing the sun in Taurus right now. And you know, Scorpio, which craves that emotional depth and intimacy and intensity and crisis and is just dealing with all this crazy shit. Taurus is slow and more lazy and laid back and wants relaxation and all the earthly pleasures and doesn't want any of that emotional intensity and wants the practicality. And yeah, Scorpio's, let's just be honest, Scorpio is a messy energy. It's mucky, it's murky, it's dirty, it's just crazy. And Taurus is not, but that is why the two balance each other out. So right now, you know, at any time of the full moon, the sun, which is the outer activity in life, is at odds with what's going on in our inner world and our emotions. They are conflicting. I actually wouldn't even say conflicting, they're just simply opposing. They're at opposites. They're on two ends of the track, but the same track nonetheless. And that's the thing to always remember at the time of the full moon, when things feel so heightened at this intense opposition, is knowing that these two energies, although opposing, really want the same thing. They're on the same track, they're just on opposite sides of it, but they still share the same track. So always remember that with oppositions in general. So that's why I always say I'm not really afraid of oppositions. I think the more crazy aspects in astrology are the squares, because there's so much conflict and tension and anxiety that comes with them. But oppositions ain't no thing, but are very heightened by the full moon, of course. So obviously we only get one Scorpio full moon per year, and the moon, it's a harder position for it to be in Scorpio. That is its fall, and because the moon is more fluid emotion, and Scorpio being fixed gets really stuck and just goes to a certain level that is even hard for the moon to handle sometimes. For me, when the moon's in Scorpio, I find it's really a time to get very clear with myself and my emotions about what I'm feeling, what I want emotionally, what are my needs to feel emotionally secure and safe in relation to another. Because Scorpio is all about intimacy with another. Usually more times than not, an intimate relationship, be it that special someone in our life that we're married to or we're dating, or we might not even be with that person at the moment. But there's usually a lot of that involved with Scorpio. And even if you're single, relating to yourself more deeply, because you can't have that with another person until you've got that with yourself and you're clear in that. Now, where this one is getting tricky, right now the moon is in a really harmonious aspect with Pluto. The full moon is in sextile to Pluto in Capricorn, and Pluto is Scorpio's ruler in nature, so it's really inclining us to really rid ourselves of any obstructions that are holding us back from connecting more deeply and intimately. That one is just absolutely profound right now and is very prominent. It's really the only, that's really the only main aspects that the full moon makes that I remember when looking at the full moon chart. There's some other aspects between the other planets, but I'm mostly looking at the moon specifically. And so, yeah, to just rid ourselves of those obstructions and any dead weight that is really blocking the way of our intimate connection with ourselves, and then furthermore intimate connection with others. Because at the end of the day, you can't have that with others if you don't have it from yourself. You've got to be clear with you, yourself, and I, and me, myself, and I, what's going on up in here, so that out here we can show up and deliver and be there and be present and enjoy this thing that is life and be the happiest that we possibly can. I think something that is interesting to note too right now is that Mars in Gemini is coming into a pretty exact square with Neptune in Pisces at the time of this full moon, which I will promise all of you, even if it doesn't hit you too directly, to some degree in some area of your life, my suspicion is you will feel some sense of confusion, maybe a bit of a kind of a blockage in your energy. Maybe you might have low energy level for a day or two. And yeah, just a general sense of confusion. Whenever Neptune energy comes up, especially in a square, and this one involving Mars, which is our outward activity and directed energy and stamina and passion and all that stuff, there is kind of a blockage there. And with the square, there's a conflict, there's a tension, and it does require some course correcting and some kind of like, okay, what do I really want right now? What am I really going after? And there's some disillusionment that comes up. It kind of takes me back to the Saturn-Neptune square that went down last year in 2016, those 3 exact squares we had. This stirs that up a little bit, and that square was happening, yeah, with Saturn and Sag, Neptune and Pisces, and now this one is Mars and Gemini, which is opposing opposite from Sag. So that is something to look at and think about. That is influencing the full moon energy in there. So yeah, those are the 2 most important aspects that I really saw while looking at this chart. And so definitely something to be aware of. Now, just how this is affecting me personally, again, it does feel very relational. It does feel there's some raw spots being hit. I'm just going to share my personal experience. And before so, I want to say, always look to your transit chart to see where the full moon is occurring in your houses. Check to see where the sun is transiting and where the moon is transiting, to see where this opposition affects you personally. For me, the sun in Taurus right now is transiting my 6th house, and the full moon in Scorpio is transiting my 12th house, which could not be more canny for what I'm experiencing right now in my life. The astrology never lies, y'all. Never lies. I am experiencing some career endeavors right now that have been very challenging, to say the least, without going into full-on details. And the 6th, even though career is usually more the 10th house, it can refer to the 6th house as well, with, daily routine and regimen, and the kind of work I do is very 6th house oriented, but it's also very 12th house oriented in that it's dealing with a lot of mental health stuff. And so to have that opposition occurring there for me right now, it could not be any more spot on. Now, what I'm also going to tell you is to see how the full moon is aspecting any of your planets. The full moon is occurring at 20 degrees Scorpio, and so looking to where that might hit any of your planets. I know for me personally, this full moon is going to be pretty closely conjunct my natal Pluto. So that definitely brings up a lot of stuff, my natal Pluto in my 12th. And I am a Scorpio rising myself, and so that's going to be pretty close, not exactly conjunct my rising, but pretty close. I'm a 28 degree Scorpio riser, so it's kind of nicely knit in there. So that's my stuff and how it's affecting me. I'm very curious how it's going to be aspecting your planets and what houses the sun and moon, this full moon, are transiting for you. So that is my thoughts on this wild Scorpio full moon. My fellow astro lovers, please let me know what you think. Thank you for joining, and until next time, much aloha and happy transiting.